Hey everybody, Mojave Trooper here back with another video. And today what I have for you is a review of the 7Chambers Aniflex Final Edition. Now, before we get into the video, I just want to clarify some things. As you all may know, around June or July of last year, I uploaded a video titled The Most Accurate Anakin Skywalker Lightsaber, which brought me a lot of views and a lot of questions about how to get into this run, and it brought a lot of attention to this run. And around October I hid it from public view because I kept being asked repeated questions about how to get it, how to contact Lewis from 7Chambers, how to do all that. Even though it's said in the description, I kept getting that asked a lot. And the reason I hid it too was because at the time, this was around October, I had some financial issues which prompted me to sell this set of hilts. I just want to clarify that it wasn't because I was unhappy with them. I still think that these are really great hilts. I just sold my original set because of the financial matter that I had to get sorted out. And around the same time, I was, being asked a lot of questions, and I just decided to hide the video, which brought me even more questions, and why I'm doing another video right now, just to clarify those things. So yeah, it wasn't because I was unhappy with them. It was just basically because the ideal situation was to sell either the Aniflex Elite or the Young Slayer, which are both installed with crystal chambers. But since, in this current market, it's really hard to sell hilts or install lightsabers or lightsabers in general, I figured I would have a really hard time to sell them. I would have to get lowballed. I would have to, bump them and decrease the price a lot. And in the end, I just decided to keep them. And I said, you know what, I'm going to try to get rid of the Aniflex Final Edition set since they are the latest rendition. And that's exactly what happened. I got rid of them fairly quickly, and I got the exact price that I paid for them, which I was happy with. Flash forward to January, I actually, I got my situation sorted out, and I was actually wanting to get these back again. So I bought these secondhand from Watto's Junkyard. He sold them to me for the same price, the same pre-order price from the run, and I said, you know what, I'll take them. And then here I am recording another video, which again I wanted to do just to clarify those questions that I got. So yeah, basically it was a financial matter, and also I accidentally deleted the video, which I ended up re-uploading. Now, this particular set is, again, not the same one that I recorded with last time. It is a different one that I bought secondhand. And I wanted to review this in the sense that, just this set by itself, not comparing it to other hilts, because if you want to find out more about the differences, you can do that in my previous video. But I just wanted to focus more so on the review of this set alone. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. First of all, this is the box that you get if you are on the run or were on the run. It is replicated from an actual Graflex FlashCon box. Instead of Graflex, it says Aniflex. And then, the big difference between this box from the previous renditions is that, first of all, the texture is different. The one on the previous renditions is smooth. And then the sticker right here on the side of the box, that wasn't there before. Lewis added that, and it looks really nice. I'm pretty sure it is the same size as an actual Graflex box, but I wouldn't have one to compare it next to, so I'm assuming it is. The other one was smaller, The one from the Aniflex Elite in V2 was smaller and was more like a shoebox. This, I would say, is a bit bigger. But it makes sense since it houses 2 hilts. Now when we open up the box, you get this nice layer of foam, and then inside you'll find the hilts. Now you had 2 options in this run. You could either get 2 hilts, a set of 2 hilts, one accurate to the first auction and one to make it accurate to the second auction. Or you could just get 1 hilt and then, mix and match parts and as you like if you wanted to make it accurate to one prop or the other. But I decided to initially get the auction collector set, which comes with 2 hilts. Thankfully, the person who sold this to me, again, it was Watto's Junkyard, they got the auction collector set, so that was perfect for me. And I was really happy with that because it comes complete with everything. Now, the only difference between this set and the one I had before was that one came completely assembled because I asked Lewis to do that for me. This one didn't. This one came completely unassembled and I had to do that myself, which was the only bad part, but no biggie. I got that done. But anyway, when you get the box, if you got the auction collector set, you get 2 hilts. And if you only got 1 hilt, or the single hilt kit, then you only get 1 hilt, but you get all the other extra parts for the other accuracy stuff. So opening it up, you get the 2 hilts. This one is the first auction and this one is the second auction, and we're about to go over the differences once again. You get 2 effects emitters if you're getting yours installed or you're installing yours. This one is accurate to the I think this is the first prop because it has the almost flat emitter lip right there. And then you also get one that's accurate to the second prop because if you look at the lip, it's almost curved and not flat, if that makes any sense. You also get 2 effects pommels or pommel caps. The first one is accurate to the first prop because the middle groove is recessed and doesn't sit flush with the rest of the grooves or the pommel cap. And then you get one that's accurate to the second prop because the middle groove is leveled the same as the rest of the pommel cap. You also get these switches and PCBs if you're going to install yours. And then you get this bag, which had all the other extra parts, like the brass pins that we're about to go over. I think this one did too. So yeah, this is the first auction prop, and then I'll just set this here, the second auction. So when it comes to the differences, you just set this box right here. There's, as we all may know, lots and lots of props used for the prequels, Revenge of the Sith most of all. But in particular, the ones that stand out for Anakin are the first auction hero prop that showed up on Prop Store in 2018, and then the second auction, which showed up later in 2021. This one was described as a prop master to be the one used in the Mustafar scenes, most of all. And this one was described to be used around different scenes around the movie, or different scenes in the movie, which included the invisible hand, when they were in the invisible hand, about to fight Count Dooku on the Jedi Temple in the Senate building. Now there are more props out there than just these two. So these two aren't the only ones, and we can count on that these two aren't the only ones that were used on screen, but they're the ones that stand out the most just because we have lots and lots of references. We have the prop store lot for the first auction, and then we have the one for the second auction. But when it comes to the differences, here's what they are. Basically, once again, I'm going to start from top to bottom. The emitter, the brass pin, is made out of resin, made to look like real brass, but it's made out of resin. That's why it has that darker, kind of oxidized color. The bunny ears almost line up with the emitter cup. And then the lip is flat. Now, one thing to note about the lip is it is not known whether or not it is chromed, or if it's black material, or if it's sharpied like the rest of this brass pin area. There's a couple of different theories, just because we don't have, from the available references that we have, it's very unclear. I think it is chromed. This part is chromed. But then the top, as you can see, is black. And I sharpied that myself to make it look like that. It doesn't come that way. But I think that's the case. Brian Rogers from the RPF, he thinks it is sharpied, just because that's what the third auction looks like. And then moving it down to the brass pin area, we know that they are sharpied. Brian proved that himself. And then the brass pins, they have a different shape than the second auction. They have, I guess, a little bit of, that nipple shape. Just like the metal prop. The buttons, they are made out of resin. They are made to look like copper, but we know they are resin just because the rest of the hilt is, or the rest of the real prop. As opposed to previous renditions, these buttons are not painted. This is actually resin. Before, they were painted by SP Sabers for the Aniflex Elite and V2. Now they are made by a different guy named Luke. I don't know the exact details, but he did these himself, and I just gotta say, they look really great. I think his attempt at recreating that marbled look was really good, to be honest. Some of the complaints at the beginning were that the buttons did not look enough like the ones that SP Sabers painted, because first of all, those were orange and these are more red. And the thing is, on the prop store photos, the ones on the prop look red, versus on some other references they look orange. but it's really hard to say what they are 100%. There's also another photo that I have on my RPF library where there's a person holding them and they look red. And that right there, that convinced me that they were red. But again, in some other references, they look orange. It could just be the lighting or some other camera effects. But on this rendition or this version of the prop, the bunny ears are closer to this copper button right here. Versus on the second one you're about to see, they're farther away. And then moving down to the control box, not much differences going on here between the first and second. The only one being the clamp card. If you can see that it sits more flush with the rest of the control box. It's very even. Just like the metal prop. The clamp card, I should also mention, is made out of the same plastic material that the real prop was made out of. Before, with the Aniflex Elite and V2, they were made out of real brass, which was nice, but the truth of the matter was that they tarnished very easily and quickly, and I didn't like that. You know, I even applied a clear coat to mine, and it ended up tarnishing. But these are made out of a plastic material made to look like brass. And that was once again discovered by Brian of the RPF. A really nice discovery because they just look really nice and very accurate. And then moving down to the grips, most of them set even at a distance from the rest of the clamp. And you're about to see the difference with the second option. And then of course the last difference is the pommel cap. If I can get it to focus here. Again, the middle groove sits recessed from the rest of the pommel cap, which is accurate to the real prop. So that's the first auction hilt. When it comes to the second auction, again, from top to bottom, unlike the first prop, the brass pin, I don't know if it's made out of real brass, or we don't know in general if on the real prop it's made out of real brass. We know for a fact that on the first prop it's made out of resin, but not on the second one. So it could be real brass. But then that would mean over time it would tarnish and wouldn't look as shiny as it does on the auction photos. So it's most likely resin. A really shiny plastic made to look like real brass. But that's the difference between the first and second, is that here it looks more shiny and over there it looks more tarnished. Then the bunny ears, like I mentioned before, they don't line up with the emitter cup. They are raised. And they are farther away from this back button right here. The lips, once again, it's not 100% confirmed that they are Sharpied. I just Sharpied my end because, in my opinion, that's what they are on the real prop. There are other arguments that say that they're not Sharpied, they're actually black material. Some say that the lip is chromed, but I don't think so. I think it is Sharpied like the brass pin area once again. The brass pins, as you can see, are now more rounded and don't have that nipple shape. They have more of a bullet shape, if anything. And then the buttons are no longer resin. They are real copper. Now, we know that the glass eye is copper. On the auction description, it says bronze for the button, but I think it's most likely referring to the back button right here, the copper button. Ironically, copper. And you can see Lewis replicated that correctly, because you can see on the auction photos that they are a different color. The glass eye and the copper button are different colors. This one is more pink versus this one is more, gold, bronze-ish. And honestly, I was surprised by that when I first saw it, because he didn't have to do that. He could have just have had both be copper and called it a day, but he didn't do that. He replicated that, and that's just so nice. Once again, copper and bronze. Moving down to the clamp. Once again, not many differences here. The only being the clamp card is raised and doesn't sit flush with the rest of the control box. And that's how it is on the real prop. And then the grips. Now they are shorter than the ones from the first auction, and they're not really all that even. They're cut to different lengths, kind of. Not very noticeable, but they are, some are longer, some are shorter than the rest. And that's accurate to the second auction. And then finally, the pommel cap. It is, the middle groove sits flush with the rest of the pommel cap, which is accurate. So yeah, those are the differences between the hilts. I hope that helps if you want to make yours, if you got the single hilt kit and you want to make yours accurate to one or the other. With that said, that's gonna have to wrap the review here. I just want to clarify and address something, because I know I'm gonna get asked about it, and that is how to get on this run. And the only thing I'm gonna tell you about how to buy these hilts is, first of all, join my Facebook group, the Anakin Skywalker Lightsaber Group, which I'll have linked in the description. And second, contact Lewis Petch. I am not a 7Chambers rep. I cannot add you to the run. I cannot sell these to you. I'm only doing this review, for my own fun. I am not being sponsored or paid or anything. I just think these are really nice hilts and want to show them off. So if you're interested in learning more about the run, I suggest, again, joining my Facebook group and contacting Lewis Petch. Those are the only ways. I'm saying this because I get asked a lot. How do I buy these? How do I buy these? How do I buy these? And that's the only thing I can tell you. I also get contacted a lot about their orders. And once again, I'm not a rep. You're going to have to contact Lewis about this. I believe the run, as of recording this video, I believe the run is done. The last few batches of it are shipping and people are receiving them. But I truly couldn't tell you when another run is going to be, when another restock is going to be, etc. Only Lewis Petch of 7Chambers knows about that. And he posts quite a lot in my Facebook group. So with that said, again, these are really great hilts. I wanted to review these by themselves without comparing them to any other hilts. If you want to find out more about the differences, I suggest watching my last video. But yeah, that's gonna have to be it for this review. I do plan on doing more videos, because alongside the other video that I deleted, I also deleted a few more, which I'm deeply sad about. But I'll just be re-recording them and reviewing those hilts again if I can. One of them was the Salt Shaker by Anakin Starkiller. The other one was the Resin Hilt, from the Throne Room by RPK Customs for, the Luke Return of the Jedi hilt that was made out of resin, and it was used in the Throne Room. I plan on re-recording those videos again. But for now, this is going to have to be it. I also plan on doing a review of the Tusken Slayer Gen 4. And also, one interesting thing that I will leave with is I mentioned the clamp card material for these hilts. That was discovered by Brian Rogers. Brian is currently working on a run of Obi-Wan Kenobi Episode 3 lightsabers, mainly based on the belt hanger. The Lot 373 prop that was shown on Prop Store, or that was sold on Prop Store. And the reason I mentioned these are related is because not only is that run going to be really accurate, but also the clamp card material, that run is being done by the same machinist that did these hilts, but also the clamp card material is going to be the same for that run. And I am getting on that run. I'm really interested in getting one, so I'll be reviewing that. But I just thought I should shout out Brian for that, because these are some really nice clamp cards that we'll be seeing again in that Obi-Wan run. But anyway, that's going to have to be it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe. And may the Force be with you. See you on the next video.